We have been conditioned to believe that if a character doesn't have a multi-episode character arc or a tragic backstory, they are wasted space. Some people call it cast bloat and treat it like a failure of the writer, but here's the truth. Demanding an arc for everyone is exactly how you ruin a story. You might be wondering what I mean by that, so let me explain. This conversation actually comes from my Discord server just about a week ago. Specifically, it was about the Phantom Troop from Hunter x Hunter, and the conversation revolved around how there are all these characters in the Phantom Troop, right? And the user in question was like, well, I feel like that these characters are wasted because they don't do anything, and I think the Phantom Troop would be better if these characters were removed from the story. As someone who unfortunately covered a lot of My Hero Academia, I grew quite familiar with the criticism of Class 1A being too big. It's a criticism that seemed to resonate with a lot of people and a reason why they found content of the main cast underwhelming, there was poor focus. I do not agree with the criticisms of Class 1A, well, okay, for a while anyway, but I think outright dismissing the criticism is missing the big picture. When people make these criticisms, it's because that they have an idea that something feels off and like this is their attempt to verbalize it, you know? They might not have the specific terminology or the right words to use, but I'm gonna do my best to, I think, talk about what they mean. Now, genuinely, lock me in a dark fucking basement, eyes covered, put the barrel of the gun to the back of my head. Ask me to name like 3 series that have issues of cast bloat. I don't know if I would be able to name them. I really don't. When people gesture towards Class 1A being too big or a cast being too bloated, they're, in my opinion, signaling that their issue is that not all characters get focused, right? If you're gonna have this class of 20 characters, why are you not gonna give all 20 of them content? And you see, okay, I was gonna make a joke here about how like, oh my god, nobody wants to see a Mineta character arc from My Hero Academia, but I can't say that because some guy in my comments, his name will be it'll be the Grapist, will be like, well, actually, I think he's quite a relatable little fella. It's a coming-of-age story. He's coming, all right? Let's put it into that one. I find this mentality that like every character in Class 1A or every single character in the Phantom Troop, or I guess this might be a straw man, but maybe people are talking about like every character in the Zenin clan or whatever the fuck. I find this to be short-sighted because let's think about what purpose characters serve. Some would say to move the plot, but I think that's too restrictive. While many characters do in fact move the plot, that's because characters are the plot. Plot, however, is not exclusively movement. I recently uploaded a wiki world building video in which I talk about the way people consume things. Also, quick sidebar, people have like so many issues with saying consuming media. Am I the only one who doesn't give a fuck about that? I don't know. But in that video, I speak about how plot is a lot of things, right? I say this in defense of people who enjoy kind of tertiary elements of world building because there are themes to stories, there's tone to stories, there's atmosphere to stories. Grok, spit out some more jargon for me, please. The characters themselves, right? All of these elements of a story that aren't necessarily like driving a plot forward. Like when I say I have an issue in Hunter x Hunter with the fact that like we learn about the Hunter Association, we learn about how there are a myriad of different ways to go about it, or how we learn about like Kite and his group and how they tackle being hunters in their own unique way with you know like doing that species documentation for the government with his friends or whatever. Would I say that that's not moving the plot forward? No, I wouldn't say that, but I would say that that serves, you know, a lot of the thematic influence of hunters and what hunters provide to the world. You know, it's like going up to the Walmart cashier and, you know, they're scanning your items and you're like, what is the thematic purpose? How are you moving the plot forward? And they look you in the eyes and like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm trying to make rent, bro. I'm making $17 an hour. And then also you leave your card out. You don't put your card back in the cart corral. And if you do that, you should go fuck yourself, by the way. So in my opinion, characters can serve a lot of purposes, and some of them can be as simple as filling up the world, you know, to give tidbits about it or elements of the plot. I think that's what Class 1A was largely capable of doing in My Hero Academia. Let's really be honest. Who the fuck is moved by the concept of a Sugar Man arc? And I know there's some motherfucker on r/character rant going, you know, I really think that My Hero Academia could have really explored the diabetic experience through Sugar Man. And things like this, people will wield as a cudgel against a narrative for not addressing things that they would have thought was cool. And not to say that there's anything wrong with thinking that something was cool. You know, maybe you really wanted a climactic character arc for Sero in which his scotch tape arms become duct tape arms. I don't really have an issue with that. I have an issue with the way people talk about it and use it against narratives. Like another character from Hunter x Hunter I think is perfectly fine is the exorcist from Green Island. I can't even remember his fucking name. He's not given much, right? He's introduced immediately after Krollo loses his Nen, and the narrative is like, wow, I wonder what this guy's for. Surely he's not gonna be able to get rid of Krollo's Nen restriction. And you know what they do? The Phantom Troop comes to Green Island, they get him, he removes Krollo's Nen restriction, that's it. And I think that's fine. I think he serves his purpose. I don't think he really needs to do anything else other than that. To the uninitiated, the Phantom Troop is specifically a kind of like a ragtag found family group that comes from this downtrodden and poverty-driven society called Meteor City. And after one of their friends in their childhood gets killed, they all come together and they form the Phantom Troop. Their explicit goal is to enact revenge and to become enemies of the world, right? And so people talk about like how the Phantom Troop is full of wasted characters. In my opinion, when you have these characters from the Phantom Troop that may not have arcs, they might not have strong characters. One, I think they fill out the world. Two, I think they fill out this cast of family members, right? And I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that. And throughout Hunter x Hunter, some of them, well, you know, not sugarcoated, they eat shit and die, right? And Crollo, being the head of the spiders or the troop, not particularly happy about his family members being slaughtered. Crazy concept, going up to someone in grief and being like,
I don't really know why you're so sad. I mean, your wife died, but like, she didn't really get much content in my life.
attending the funeral and being like,
I don't know. This kind of came out of nowhere. I'm not really emotionally impacted by this.
And specifically in the conversation that took place in my Discord, it was also discussed that members of the Phantom Troop were eating screen time, right? And I understand the criticism being made because, like, I felt this a lot throughout Hunter x Hunter where I read stuff and I'm like, God, I really don't give a fuck, right? About these people or what's happening, and it's not doing a good job at making me care about them. Here's a brief summary of the secession war. Let me throw it on screen. Fucking, why don't you read that, asshole? But rather than saying they're eating screen time, it's more like they're eating my life force away. They're slowly draining me until I'm a sarcophagus. Because I think there's an issue in viewing screen time as transactional, right? So, like, the implication is that if the Phantom Troop didn't get screen time, let's say in Chimera Ant, which was not particularly exciting, that screen time could have gone to Gon or Killua or Miriam or Komugi or something like that. But I don't really think that's exactly like, it's not transactional like that. It's not like a mathematical statement. If the Phantom Troop didn't get content there, you know what would have happened? Probably nothing. The whole fight, that whole sequence, probably just wouldn't have happened. And you could argue that would be for the best, okay? Fair enough. But it's not like that screen time is budgeted out and is going to be distributed to other characters instead. Or you know what? Togashi loves to waste our fucking time. If the Phantom Troop stuff didn't happen, we would have gone somewhere else in the Chimera Ant arc. You would instead, I don't know, let's like say hypothetically gotten a story about like some octopus underground fighting shit. But thankfully that didn't happen, so. But I would also like to stress that I don't believe that me, like, trying to downplay this criticism makes side characters free from criticism, because good fucking god, that's not true, especially if we're looking at it through the lens of Hunter x Hunter, right? One way that people criticize side characters is a lack of set dressing, and you might not understand what I mean, but, like, if you go to see a play, there are a lot of elements that are used to immerse you, right? You have center stage lighting. Oh, fuck, I've never been to a play. You got costumes, you got presumably other things. Oh my god, throw something on screen, I don't know. This video is unscripted, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. And I think one of the biggest flaws with side characters that people have, but they aren't able to articulate it, is when the set dressing comes apart, right? Is when your immersion is broken by the narrative coming out and letting you know, hey, obviously this is a narrative, you know what I mean? Like for example, some characters that are called plot devices. This is usually a bad criticism because all characters are plot devices, right? But generally, what they're actually trying to say is that my immersion was broken by how obviously relevant to the plot this character was. I was no longer tricked by the costume design or the set design or the lighting into thinking that like I'm experiencing something. I now know that I'm watching a play. You know what? Does that make sense? Hang on, someone dropped a banger in my comments recently. Verisimilitude. It's the quality of seeming true, real, or believable. It's a good word to use in the instance of narrative experiences like this, right? So when someone's like, hey, this character's a plot device, they're saying, hey, I can obviously tell that this character was doing something to progress the plot. You have instances in My Hero Academia like Star and Stripe, who is so hilariously bad, but very obviously also progressing the Shigaraki and All For One storyline and changing the game before she immediately dies because Horikoshi woke up in a cold sweat. He's like, oh my god, I haven't fucking maimed a woman in like 2 volumes. Get to work! Another example would be Gege Akutami's Jujutsu Kaisen and the Angel character, who, frankly, I don't know what the purpose was besides to give Yuta a technique against Sukuna in the final fight. And also, I guess, kind of fridging her? Oh, wow. Wow, they really are in love. My Hero Academia's issue isn't that it has a big cast, right? My issue with My Hero Academia's cast that I mentioned earlier, which comes way later in the story, is that it tried to give all of them moments, which leads to its third act to become an absolute mess of hype moments. But, like, they're really not hype. They really just make you roll your fucking eyes because they're so stupid. So, like, all of these characters back to back to back get these terribly paced, underdeveloped moments that are supposed to be, like, climactic and triumphant. But, like, you got, like, Sarah popping up and saying, like, nothing of substance because Horikoshi promised once in a Q&A that, really, I promise, guys, Sarah will get his moment. What was it? Don't ask. Shoji getting his moment about racism in My Hero Academia that largely did not exist for the entirety of the plot until it needed to, and then every single piece of content about him was hastily shoved into the story, and also not very well. Mineta getting some content about how, wow, look how brave he is, and apologizing to Shoji for calling him an octopus, but never once being like, hey, you know what, all the girls in Class 1A, I'm sorry for being a sex pest. I'm sorry for being a predator. Aoyama's whole trader arc, which expects you to have, like, emotional investment in a character that largely did nothing besides cheese. yummy. I would say JJK has a similar issue. The primary distinction is that these characters don't do anything. In JJK, they don't do a single thing. And then the final arc comes, and they all have to do everything all at once because, like, holy fuck, we have all these characters, I gotta give them moments. My husband Horikoshi, that's what he did, I gotta do the same thing. You have Inumaki's voice recorder, which was stupid. Toto's return, which was just really hilarious considering it comes 3 seconds after Chozo explodes into dust. Fucking Miguel comes back? What the fuck is this about? Kashimo is genuinely just like a garbage character who doesn't do anything. I also want to make it clear that I'm not one to write off one-chapter wonders, right? I don't want to make it sound like that every character needs like this terribly long, complicated arc to be interesting. But I do think that one-chapter wonders are seriously hard to execute. You have to do an introduction. You have to introduce an idea. You have to execute that introduction, that idea, that character, and then you have to conclude all of those things in one chapter or like one small space, right? And I would say that an example of that is JJK's Higuruma. He's a fan favorite for a reason. I think he is basically a one-chapter wonder if we're talking about like his Culling Games content, but I think he feels super realized. He's really cool. His content about the Japanese justice system, how his sense of justice manifests and how he encounters that with Yuji, and how Yuji is the one that makes him feel like, oh my god, there are people actually out there that aren't fucking con artists, even though, you know, Jujutsu sorcerers are supposed to be con artists. It feels like Higuruma has way more intentionality than just checking off a box. But giving everyone content, like let's really think about it, dude. If we really went through all 20 characters of Class 1A, I want you to tell me that that would be fucking sick. I want you to tell me that the 600 chapters of My Hero Academia, given a 2-volume rundown to Sugar Man, would be awesome. It wouldn't lead to even more of this nothing burger content that MHA Act 3 already suffers so terribly from. I think an example of a side character I would use is Julius Jaculius, or Julius Jaculius, or Julius Jaculius from ReZero, Chef's Choice, I suppose. Something I have never discussed on the channel before. He is a character that isn't shoved at you all at once like some of the aforementioned series that have issues. He's introduced in Arc 3 or Season 1. You get a feel for the kind of guy he is. He values honor, the optics of a knight, the traditions of the kingdom, someone who holds these ideals in high esteem, and he has this conflict with the protagonist about his lack of decorum and mocking of those of high status. And the more we get to know Julius, you know, we get to see that he struggles keeping up with the expectations and status of being a knight, which is when Julius, it's the nickname Julie that kind of frees him from those burdens temporarily. And later he comes back in Season 3 or Arc 5, and while he doesn't have a powerful role in the arc of the season, it sets him up big time for the future by making him a victim of gluttony. If you don't know what that means, it means that Julius had his name eaten. Nobody remembers him. All of those achievements of knighthood, that status he has cultivated, the title of the finest of knights has all disappeared in the blink of an eye. And going into Season 4 or Arc 6, he now takes on a prominent role as he travels with our protagonist, the only guy who remembers him, as he struggles with his reputation and his relationships being gone, and almost being put in a similar position to our protagonist that started their conflict back during Season 1. If you wanted an example of a character I think is bad, I mean, I could have already touched on him earlier. You have Aoyama. He's a character introduced at the very start of the story, which I think is like 2014, 2016, and he's not really executed until 2021. Not executed as in murdered, I mean as in his character. He's introduced in Entrance Exam. A little bit of charitability here to Horikoshi, the author of MHA, because he was supposed to have his content in one of the early like Season 3 arcs for his training, but he had to axe it because reader surveys were looking bad, so then he decided to wait the entire rest of the series to do it instead. So like Aoyama is just kind of this character who is like, oh my god, look at me, I'm French and I'm sad, omelette du fromage type shit. And then you're supposed to get like this traitor reveal, and I guess you're supposed to feel sad about it. For me, it doesn't really work because who is this guy? Oh my god, Deku is so hurt by his best friend's portrayal, Aoyama. Okay, come on, buddy. And I guess like if we compare these two characters, which is I never thought in a million years I'd be comparing. You know, Julius introduced in Arc 3, an idea is implemented in Arc 5 and kind of 3, and then it's executed in Arc 6, and then more or less the character's done, right? Aoyama introduced in Entrance Exam, a dropped idea in Forest Training, and then executed all the way later in UA Trader all at once, right? It just doesn't work for me. I said Julius is kind of done. I think that's true. I mean, I could end up being wrong. I do think that Julius's character is like 90% complete. I guess this is kind of like a sidebar. There's a lot of people who bring up characters that like have a really strong arc early in a series, right? And then like you get later into the series and you're like, man, it's kind of sad that character was abandoned. And I'm like, well, were they abandoned or are they just done? You know? I guess this is my question for a lot of you. I don't know how many of you are going to agree with this or are going to disagree with this. Is it bad for a character to just be done? You know? People talk about this a lot with Beatrice from ReZero as well, because her climax is in Arc 4, and then she doesn't really get a whole lot of, like, introspective character work or like, character arcs. But I think that's fine. I don't know. I feel like it's fine if characters are just done. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments below. But I just wanted to make this video real quick, unscripted, talking about characters and casts, and how you don't have to develop every single character. It's fine. But if you are going to develop every single character, or, like, if you're going to give every single character an arc, you've really got to fucking try, dude. You can't really just shove it in all at once at the very end. How do you guys feel about this, please let me know. Also let me know if you guys want more videos like this. That'd be awesome to hear about. I know I did just make, at the time of recording, my video about Hunter x Hunter is actually going live in a few hours. But I did just spend a lot of time slandering Hunter x Hunter, I guess. And now in this video I'm going to bat for it. Must be very confusing. Thank you for watching though. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe for more. You can also check the description down below to become a member, which gives you benefits like early videos, membership badges, and cool custom emotes. You can join the Discord where we talk about Re:Zero, Kagurabachi, Jujutsu Kaisen, and all kind of stuff. Additionally, you can go to the channel store and pick up some awesome stickers made by our channel artist, so you can carry the power of Graphia with you on your water bottle. That's about it though. Thank you for watching. See ya.